Hi everyone, Morgan here. So I'm going to be sharing with you a couple things that I do not do that other preppers do, yes. And just to kind of explain that, you know, every prepper is different. How you prep is not the same way that I prep. And we all prep so differently, and I've always tried to explain this, and it never kind of gets through to people. It's always like, well, I have to be a carbon copy of that prepper. Like, my bug out bag has to be the same as his because he has that stuff in it, so it must mean I need that stuff in it. It's not the case. So one thing that a lot of preppers do that I do not do, I do not write the date on my canned goods with a Sharpie. A lot of people do this because they know that a lot of people do this. I think a lot of people do this. The reasons I've heard, it's never comprehended to me for a couple reasons, and I'll tell you why in a second, but people usually do this so that they can see the expiration date or the best by date very clearly. And, like if anything happens to the can or anything like that, they will always have that Sharpie on the can. I've never understood this. For me personally, it doesn't work out that way because for me personally, I use my canned goods well within any best by date. I'm not keeping canned goods in a long-term storage situation. I will absolutely use them and rotate them within, a 5-year period, which most canned goods will last within a 5-year period, if not longer, right? So I'm constantly eating and rotating. We eat the canned foods that we buy. We eat and rotate them so quickly that writing on, in a Sharpie on the cans is a complete waste of time for me. Now, if you want to do it, that's totally fine. Nobody's saying you have to. Nobody's saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying why it doesn't make sense for me. If you want to keep doing it, more power to you. I do not store food in 5-gallon buckets. I have found this to be a very inefficient way of storage. I have never done this. The only ways that I store my food is I take my Mylar bag and I'll put it in bins. That is a much more efficient way of storing the foods, in my personal opinion. And plus, they're in the 1-gallon bags, and it's easier for me to use those 1-gallon bags than it is for me to be using the 5-gallon bags. The only 5-gallon buckets that I have are for my everyday use. I use it for flour, sugar, and oats. And I have these 3 buckets that I pull from on an everyday basis. I use the flour every day for baking, I use the sugar, and I use the oats. These are 3 things that I use often, so I put them in bulk in the 5-gallon buckets. But I don't use 5-gallon buckets for my long-term storage. I use Mylar bags, and then I put those Mylar bags inside of a bin. That's how I do it. I've just never felt the 5-gallon bucket way was for me, But if you want to, that's totally fine. I think one really great way to use 5-gallon buckets is to put like a bunch of different Mylar bags of food in there and make it like an emergency meal bucket kind of thing. And so you could just grab that bucket if you ever have to leave. And now you have 2 or 3 days worth of food in that 5-gallon bucket that you just grabbed and go. So I think that's a really great way to use 5-gallon buckets. And I'll be talking about doing that in a future video, but I think that's a fantastic way to use it. But I think any way you want to use 5-gallon buckets is totally right for you, however you feel is right for you. All right, the next one is I do not care at all about the color of my bug out bag. So many preppers are so hung up on I can't have a tactical bag, I cannot have certain types of colors, I can't have bright colors. It's just never been an issue to me. I talked about this in a past video, and people have okay, so first of all, I talked about this in a past video where, people always want to be gray man. Well, the fact is, if you have a backpack, it doesn't matter what color it is. It doesn't matter how it looks. If you have a backpack, fanny pack, whatever, some type of pack, you have stuff that somebody else doesn't have, you will be a target. Period. End of story, right? It doesn't matter. It matters how you handle yourself. It matters how you are walking. It matters how you are perceiving yourself in, I'm not a victim sort of mindset. If you have a backpack and you're, strutting around like you own the place, then you are probably not going to be the victim of that person. But if you have a backpack and you're meek, you're looking at your phone, or you don't know what's going on, you look scared, you're probably going to be a target. You know what I mean? So I do not care what the color is. I don't care what the backpack looks like. And if it is a severe issue, I can just place a coat over it. I can place a tarp over the backpack. I can place whatever over the backpack to make that backpack disappear, right? A lot of people give me such crap whenever I show them my kids' backpack because they're frozen backpacks or they're bright orange backpacks or whatever. And they're like, it's so recognizable. Yeah, I can just throw something over it. Or, they're kids. They are meant to have, kid-looking backpacks. You can call me whatever names. I've been at this a long time, a very, very long time. And not only am I not concerned about the color, I'm not even concerned about tactical gear, because tactical gear is totally in yo, right? Like, it's just one of those things where it is popular to have that tactical gear. It is popular. It just straight up is. So, I see people with tactical gear all the time. Okay, just out and about at the mall. I was at the mall today and I saw a ton of people with tactical gear, right? Now, of course, if I go in there with a chest plate, my tack pants, tactical backpack, sure, I might stand out a little bit, but when we're talking about a society, we're talking about a society of varied people. We're not talking about a society where everyone looks exactly the same. We're talking about a society of people that have unique, fashion, have the unique visions, right? That is what our society is these days. And that's actually what people expect to see in our society these days. And that is even the case when it comes to some sort of collapse situation. If you care about that and you care about the color, you care about the type, more power to you. All right, the next one is calories. I did a video about this just recently, but I do not base our meals and our food storage on calories. It is not something that I feel is an important thing to keep track of, because I go based on the foods that we eat every day. If I am supplying a menu of foods that we eat on a regular basis that I eat today, and then I continue to have that food, prepped and ready in an emergency or disaster, then I'm getting the same amount of calories that I'd be getting any other time. I'm not going to be counting calories. And I don't need 2,000 calories a day unless I'm working super, super hard. And then I might, or I won't, or, I fast in the morning, I have a tiny little lunch, and then I have, and then I have a huge dinner, which usually makes up for a lot of my calories. So I'm not interested in basing everything off of the calories. It's a lot of time that I don't need to be spending on my food storage, on calculating my food storage. I just prep the food that we eat, period. I make meal plans and I make sure that the food that I have for emergencies or disasters resemble the foods that we normally eat on an everyday basis. If we are happy and healthy on an everyday basis, we should be fine based off of the foods and everything that I've prepped, based off of the foods that we eat every day in an emergency or disaster. So, yeah. So that's just a few of the things that I don't do that some other preppers might do. Again, when I give advice or when I give tips or when I show DIYs or whatever, never ever are these things supposed to be you are mandatory now have to do it this way, and you mandatory have to do it my way, right? It's just ideas. I am one of many amazing prepper channels here on YouTube, one of many, websites, Instagrams, all these things that share all these different ideas. And even I get inspired on an almost daily basis from other people sharing their ideas and their perspectives and their ways of life. And so we can all have an open mind and we can all think differently. We do not have to think the exact way that this prepper thinks. We don't have to do the tip or advice this prepper said. If you don't believe in it, that's fine. And if later on down the line you change your mind, that's fine too. There's nothing that says that you have to prep a certain way your entire life, because that just actually is not possible. Your life changes and bends and flows, and you have to change and bend and flow with it. And in essence, so will your preps, your skills, what you want to learn, what you can learn, where you live, all these things. It all bends and changes you. And lastly, I think a lot of people might regurgitate something without actually thinking about it. I encourage you to actually think about everything that you are hearing. If your gut reaction to a lot of what I said in this video was, no, she's wrong, she's dumb, she's wrong, you may, and this is just a suggestion, may want to actually stop and think about it, because I've been there. I've been that person that's been like, no, they're wrong, I'm right, right? And I've stuck my heels in the ground. But I have grown, I've matured, and I've definitely tried to be more open-minded over the past, 10 years or whatever it's been. And sometimes I'll think about it and I'll be like, you know what? I appreciate that they told me this, but it's still not right for me, because I've done my own research, because I've had my own thought process, because my prepping is personal to me and my family, and I know exactly what we need, and I know exactly what does work. And I also know that we can adapt and overcome at any time. So that's just my spiel. I hope that we will all be more open-minded, be open to adapting, be open to change and overcoming, and be willing and open to change our point of view to better suit our personal needs, because prepping is a personal journey. Take all the tips and advice, take it all in, but in the end, it's going to be what is ever going to work for you and your situation. Thank you all so much for watching. Conquer Tomorrow by Preparing Today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.